Perhaps the earth is communicating a message to us. We say words like present and mindfulness, gratitude, and I've heard and seen creators make content and videos about getting back in touch with the earth, living off the grid, minimalism, trying to fight for our earth and our humanity. But now, all that stops.
It is. It's traumatic. Like, are you kidding? I mean, I don't think you can understand the gravity of the situation now, finally. Like,
I can. I do understand. Everything's good.
it's not. It's
No, I know, but that's what I
shit.
mean. It's okay.
Well, what are we going to do about it? We're going to have to come up with a plan for you, me, your mom. Your mom's...
Chips and salsa.
Chips and salsa.
Number of cases, as we just saw, COVID-19 rising daily. Where are we with this pandemic?
Right now, we're going to all of our closed doors.
Limit or eliminate contact.
Tough talk from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Stay at home.
Enough is enough.
And 8,000 cases are under investigation.
Love and people at or in poor health. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes doivent.
But what about on like a personal sort of like level as a parent? You know, like what do we do?
So,
like what do we do
okay.
now? We have Donovan, who's 16 years old, and we have Dawson, who's 11 years old, and neither of them are in school, and they're both full of energy and budding testosterone.
And I find it, unfortunately, technology is a really easy time sucker. It's so easy when you have a phone to just pick it up and just, YouTube the day away.
Infodemic. I heard that term,
And-
infodemic.
Yeah. And it takes discipline. And so this is a test of our kids' discipline.
Yeah. Nice.
So this morning, we asked them to make out a list and say, let's look at these next weeks as self-directed learning. And what do you want to learn about? What have you been curious about that only time has stood in your way from learning? So anyways, we had them make out a list. Donovan protested his way through it. This list, it was ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and it's been a bit of a struggle because I think that our kids don't really get, well, I think that all of their spare time is sucked up by technology. And so the minute you remove the, taekwondo lessons and the ballet lessons and the regular school hours and the music class and this and that and the next thing, it's they don't know what to do. They're
Fragments of time. It's not like the army.
Yeah.
Another brick in the wall.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, just like, I think that if we don't have a purpose, then it's what happens when you get those controlled experiments with mice and rats back in the 50s, where if you put bored rats together, they eat at each other and kill each other, right? They go at each other. Whereas if you give them something to do and some kind of purpose, they kind of like get on with things. And, maybe we're not that far removed. I mean, all of nature has to have a purpose. And I think that we're like all our time is taken up by these little fractions of little releases of dopamine, and cortisol. And it keeps you kind of, I don't know, where am I going with this? I'm going to take my tinfoil hat off. But it does sort of make you think, right? And I think that that's something that has been missing from our diet as a society, is our ability to think critically, because we're so busy. We have to pick the kids up. We have to go to swimming lessons. We have to make payments at the bank and pay for our mortgages in our lives and go to the grocery store and cook food and do all of these things, right? And then intermittently, when we have a few minutes to sit while our kids are getting dressed, ready for the next activity, we can check our feed, or before we go to bed, or when you're on the toilet probably. Or
it's the ideal thing to do when you're killing time.
Right? But what did we used to do when we were killing time?
Well, I remember when
Use your
I was
imagination.
a kid, like, when I was a kid and my parents were both working in the summer and I had the summer off, and literally Susie and I were home alone while we.
Yeah, we were like Generation X, the latchkey kids. By the time you were 12. Yeah, basically like you're figure it out.
Yeah. And we'd go outside and play with our friends, and then it would get really hot around lunch. We'd be hungry, we'd come home. And we'd probably wind up like watching TV for a couple of hours, inside in the nice cool. But I'd often go down to the basement and put on some records and dance. I'd like literally just go down to my basement and dance and choreograph dances and stuff. And
I used to make radio shows. I used to have a tape player.
And
we would pretend to be DJs, and I'd have my record player with the headphones and the tape player, and I would tape the records, me putting them on, and I'd go, this is DJ Dale and all that. I actually still have those. You've heard them, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of Eddie Van Halen next, So,
my radio station, the call letters were CFBF.
Oh, you had like an actual station name as your fake radio
because
station?
I was just winging it, right? And I
but you remember that.
CFBF. And then, I don't know, they never, even though it's not necessary to have, an acronym for your call letters, I said that CFBF stood for Cadillac Fiona, Brilliant Fiona.
Cadillac Fiona, Brilliant Fiona.
My name
thanks for joining us, guys, on
the
new web series called Cadillac Fiona.
Brilliant Fiona.
Brilliant Fiona. Dale Fiona. Do I get to be in there?
Yeah.
In the Dale Fiona?
Cadillac
Fiona. I like that.
Woo! She was tripping. But that's all right. She's going to be fine, and so are we. One more for the road. Cadillac Fiona, over and out.